Hello there. Hello, everybody. The topic today is keeping our buckets full. This is based on a book that Reverend Ron recommended and actually sent me. And this is the front of it here. Have you filled your bucket today? A daily guide to happiness, daily guide to spiritual practice, I believe. And in the mystery school that I attended years ago, there was a Sufi teacher there that used a song for us to pray with and pray to and pray from called Fill Your Cup, Drink It Up. Ya Allah Allah. Fill your cup, drink it up. God, 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 God. Fill your cup, drink it up. The fish in the water's not thirsty. Fish in the water's not thirsty. So, this informs my reflections today in this presentation, and as well as gives some ideas for us, hopefully, to explore together and how we keep our buckets full and what we do to keep our buckets full, and some encouragement and inspiration to find new ways to do it. So, how do you fill your own bucket? What do you do to build your resilience, your stamina, your faith, your understanding, your love, to fuel the fires of your zeal, your enthusiasm, your enthos, your spirit within you? And what helps you? What do others do that uplifts you, that causes you to feel fuller? And then how do you, from that fullness, fill the buckets of others? What are some examples of this? And there's ways outlined in the book for us to continue to do this. And knowing, for me, somebody once told me, like, if we just imagine all humans have pasted across their forehead, make me feel important, make me feel special, see me, validate me, create a safe space for me. And we can't do this ultimately for people, but there's definitely things we can do to leave them and to know that every single body in the world, all of our family members have a bucket. What would fill the bucket? So, for example, with I've got one now living brother, one brother that's passed, and what fills his bucket is humor, playfulness, even some pranking. So some of you prayed for him, and thank you for that. He had a cancer journey and had surgery in May, and part of that journey included bringing any levity to the situation that I could. This fills his bucket to have some playfulness and to tease a little bit. And he had nurses all along the way that was fulfilling that role for him too. And I was doing my best to fill the nurses' buckets, believing the fuller their buckets was, the more able they would be to fill my brother's bucket in his recovery and times. And there was a situation in there with one particular nurse when I would tell her, now, wait a minute, I told you to bring a magic wand in here with you and to wave the magic wand here in this room with my brother, and I don't see no magic wand. And she would say, I'll bring it in when I come in next time. When I come in next time, I'll have a magic wand. And it went on and on each shift, or each time she'd come in there during the shift, I'd be like, where's the magic wand? You said you're going to bring a magic wand. And eventually, he needed to have an enema. And she came in to do this. And I said again, where's the magic wand? And she actually waved the enema around and went, I actually do have the magic wand. It's right here. So that caused everybody to laugh. It brought levity to the situation. And then, if you know what an enema is, then you'll know the effects of an enema. And when it was time for her to come in there after the effects of the enema, she, my brother, I encouraged him to tell her that it was not effective, that it didn't work at all. And we're still in a real pickle barrel here, a bind, if you will. And she came in the room and he just started shaking his head at her. And she said, "What are you shaking that head at me for?" And he said, "Well, it didn't work. Like nothing came. There was no effect from it. I got nothing at all." And she said, "Oh, really? Well, it sure does not smell like nothing in here." So who knows? Who knows? Some humor, some levity, some pranking, some lightheartedness that can create some goodness, more goodness in the world. And to how to keep the fuller our buckets are, the better we function, the better we can think clearly, the more connected we feel to ourselves, to our own spirits, and to able then to connect to others with more calmness, more courage, more confidence, in how we're going to proceed in any action, and even in the face of intense situations or circumstances that are hard to bear for the human spirit. It's a high time and a critical, integral contribution to make, to keep have our own buckets full so we can serve others who may not have buckets as full, and we can do something to replenish them, to make deposits into their own. So how do you do this? You're already doing this out into the world. And some of you make calls, write cards, bake bread, send text, speak prayers, hold a certain energy for some, send money, make a contribution to do something for others they can't do for themselves, to remember a special day, to remind them how much they mean to you. Today, I was able to do that with a minister that I got a call asking about a referral of her, a reference for her, and seeking employment. And I was aware that I've known this particular minister over 20 years. And I let her know in my answering those questions about the reference how much it meant to me that we had stayed in relationship collegially, and how much I had been inspired witnessing her have the uncommon stamina to stay in ministry and to fulfill the calling that she had. And that meant a lot to her. Well, I spoke several months ago, sometime last year, about giving people their flowers while they're alive instead of after they die. So this is along the lines of that. So we can fill somebody's bucket when we simply show love to them. It could be offering them their favorite foods, or providing them an umbrella, or letting them know if we're not able to take a call when it comes in, or respond to their text that we're at work. For example, when my great niece calls me and wants to know, can I FaceTime? I don't just deny that call to her. I let her know that her call is important to me, and FaceTiming is important to me, and that I'm at work, and that I'll be able to do it after the work day, for example, or between my work calls or something like that. Something that is kind, a kind action. Like on my walk the other day, actually, I was driving, and taking a guest up to our clubhouse, and there was a man on this near on this just off the sidewalk on a electric wheelchair, and he put his hands in a prayer position as we went by. And my first thought was he's bowing, just acknowledging like a wave or something, namaste. And then my inside was turn around and go back. It was something else. So it was an internal guidance. So I turned the car around and went back to him and got out of my car and walked up to him to see if he's okay. And he had dropped a napkin, one paper napkin, and he couldn't use his feet or his hands. He apparently had had a stroke, and he wasn't able to bend down and pick up that napkin. It was troubling him. And I picked up the napkin and handed it to him. And he started to cry. And thank you. Thank you. He could get out the words thank you. No other words, just thank you and tears and thank you. And I lifted his foot back up off the ground and put it onto the wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, and asked him, was he okay? Could he proceed now, or did he need anything else? He just shook his head. Thank you. Thank you. So, a moment of kindness. And it was clear to me in that moment that I was caring for myself. My bucket was full, and my bucket stayed full because I got to extend that kindness to someone. And I can tell you, his smile and his tears are emblazoned into my being. And shall I call it a holy moment? A holy moment. In the presence of tears, the presence of a smile, the presence of a kindness extended, and a kindness received. So, doing nice things for others. So, the guest that was just in my house, the last guest that was here, changed off the bed, put on new sheets, washed the other sheets, got them over into the dryer. Generosity. She said, I felt like I wanted to go ahead and clean the shower because I know you have other guests coming in this week too. So I wanted to leave it clean and cleaner. So kindness, generosity, respect, respecting someone's position. Just before this recording, I got a call from somebody saying that another person had misrepresented me, saying that I was in support of something that I'm actually not in support of regarding a church matter, and was representing me as though she had had a conversation with me or knew where I stood. So he respected me by calling to say, it didn't sound like you, Martha, but I wanted to run this by you and to let you know that this is out in the field and that this is being represented. So respect for me to say, let me check it out instead of assuming it's true, particularly if it sounds out of character for me. Respect to do so. That filled my bucket that he would reach out to me. I also was able then to reciprocally respect him and the courage it took him for him to check it out and to take the time out of his own day to call and ask me, to notify me, and to ask me what I would want to do at this point going forward. So, how to extend respect to ourselves and to other people. What could you do that's respectful, more respectful to you, and that is respectful to people, especially when they disagree? Which may be to say, I respectfully am going to refrain from this because I know we have differing views on this, or I know that we won't agree on these matters, and I want to set it aside as a conversation, as a set aside topic. I don't want us to dwell on this, knowing that we have differences and we're not going to agree. So any kind of conversation or dialogue could be intense and to lead us into defensiveness or arguing or something like that, and I want to avoid that if possible. We can also dip into the bucket of others and take out some good feelings. And we dip into a bucket when we gossip about them, tease them without it being lighthearted or good-hearted teasing, like I was talking about with my brother. And if we say mean things about them or share information that's not ours to share about them. Also, when we ignore them, ghost them, disregard them, disinclude them, exclude them. This is dipping into the bucket. The consequence of that is also while I'm dipping into their bucket, I'm unconsciously dipping into mine because it goes against my very nature for unconditional love and acceptance. And while I'm gossiping and blaming and undermining others and dipping out of their bucket, it's also a double sword that is also empty in mine and often with me unconscious about the effects and the consequences that that has on my own well being, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. So when I hurt others, I hurt myself. And as the sacred quote reminds us, there are no others. So any hurt I extend is a hurt to all, including myself. And the emptier then their bucket is, the emptier mine is. And then the more war we have, the more violence, the more dysfunction. So quite consequential. Many people who dip into other people's bucket have an empty bucket. And they may think they can fill their own bucket by dipping into somebody else's. Does this resonate with you? Have you ever thought you could be fuller or feel better or be rescued or fixed by taking self from somebody else? So, in the work that I do, the teachers call it's a pseudo self. So, I'm borrowing self from others without any awareness that it's won't be effective, that there's no such thing, and that only in developing my higher self, developing myself as a high self, will I actually ever be thriving and have an experience of living from fullness. And I can never ever fill my own bucket by dipping into someone else's sustainably. And the reality, of course, is when I fill my own bucket, the more I fill my own bucket, the more I have to offer others, and therefore the better others can feel because of the work that I have done on my own inner plane. So all day long, we're either filling up or dipping into each other's buckets by what we say, how we say it, why we say it, and what we do, what we don't do, our actions, which includes cut off and shutting down, withholding, things like that. So, what if today then we told ourselves consciously, I love you. I'm here for you. I'm sorry at the times I wasn't here for you. Forgive me. And I'm here now. So that we extended this deeper love to all the parts of ourselves and to offer caring words. In a recent workshop, I encouraged the participants. I printed out a picture of them. I asked them to submit a picture to me and printed it in 8 by 10 and put it in a little paper frame. And someone did this for us. And I asked them to look into the eyes of that younger version of themselves and say the harsh things that we often say to ourselves during the day. And they couldn't do it. We can never, ever do that. And that's how we often treat ourselves when we're not aware of it. And it's so patterned and unconscious in us. So today, instead, caring words to ourselves, caring words and caring tones to others. Watch for smiles. Make sure that my smile is active and easy to express, that it's near the top. It's near the top of my being and quick and ready to come through my eyes and my face and my lips and my teeth, and to take the lead when we can for smiling quickly, and for it to be a sincere, from the inner plane smile, and just take notice, like we've been looking over this past year for holy moments and calling moments, holy moments, to look now at some accounting of, oh, I fill my bucket there. Oh, I don't know for sure, but I think I made a deposit into their bucket too. I think I saw their tail wagging. I think that I um, made a contribution there. And as we remember that everybody has this bucket, and regardless of how full their bucket is, there's room for more. And they can then be likely more able to pay this forward, to spread the joy, the happiness, the love, the caring, the resilience, the grit, the innovation, the thoughtfulness onto others. So, truly, then, in keeping my bucket full and fuller, creating more and more goodness in the world, that I'm also um, more likely to be in the presence of the grace of my own life and the goodness that I am through Creator, through creation, and able then infinitely, eternally to create and cause that from my inner plane out into the outer plane. So, some of this is to remember to invite somebody into our space, invite them to be a part of a conversation, to speak to a stranger, for example, or invite somebody to come along, or ask, can you come along? Just check to see, could you be invited too? Write a thank you note to someone. I told you many, many times, I've got a stack right here in front of me now of cards that go out of my mail every single month acknowledging, welcome, new baby. I'm so sorry your niece died. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. I'm sorry that you ran over that little dog in your neighborhood. I know that was heartbreaking for you to have to navigate that from a call that I got. All these calls came in just a few minutes of each other. Somebody with a heart attack and a stent that got placed. So, stacks and stacks of cards reminding them they're not alone, that I am uplifting them in prayer, thanking them, celebrating a birthday, a new baby, and everything in the human spectrum. My brother said to me during his illness how much he had enjoyed visits from me. And I realized that I want to make visits to him that are not around sickness, disease, and illness. And I committed to him and to myself that I will be going up there to see him regularly, not around sickness and doctors and hospitals going forward. No matter what our day is, no matter how the shape we're in, no matter our limitations, there's absolutely things we can do to fill our bucket, to fill our bucket, to fill our cup, to fill our cup and drink it up. God, 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 God. The fish in the waters, not thirsty. Blessing you and thank you for filling my cup, because just thinking about you and what you're out there doing in the world uplifts me. I bless you. marthacreek.com to contact me.